Hey everybody, Weedio here, and today we'll be talking about grow lights. So here we go. Hey everybody, so like I said, we'll be talking about grow lights today. Grow lights are very important to indoor plants because grow lights are the replacement for the sun. Now the sun is very essential for plant growth because plants take carbon dioxide, water, and through a process of photosynthesis, they make sugar, and sugar is the energy source for plants. So if there's not enough sun, then plants are not be able to make energy for themselves, and therefore they'll eventually will starve to death and die. That's why grow lights are very important to our success of indoor gardening. Because it is often way too dark, and they just use up all the energy because they can't make any more, and they just eventually die and gone. But we also have to remember that plants can also get too much sun. Too much sun or too much light can cause plants to become bleached and to crinkle and die. From these two examples, we can see the two extremes, not enough light and too much light. That's why it's important we understand these two things. First, we need to understand the importance of good quality light. Quality light means light that gives off high blue and red. Red light is for plants to help them flower and to fruit. So if you're trying to grow plants that to flower or to grow them for fruit, like strawberry plants indoors, you'll need a light that produces the red light. Without it, you won't get flowering and you won't get fruit. Second, we need to remember the importance of blue light. A light has to have it. If it doesn't have it, you can have short plants. The leaves and the stems are not going to grow very good, and you won't have plants that grow vegetatively very well. And the second thing we need to remember is that we need to have a good quantity of light. This involves two things. We need to keep the light as close as possible to the plants. For your seedlings, that's about 6 to 12 inches, and for older plants, that's about 12 to 24 inches. And we need to make sure we keep it on for the right amount of time. So if it's more of a shade plant, we need to make sure that the light's not on for too long. So if it requires only about 4 hours of sunlight, then we keep our light on for about 4 hours. And if it's a full sun plant, then we'll have to keep it on for 12, 14, 16 hours. And the thing to remember about quantity is that because the indoor lights are not as good as the sun or not as effective as sunlight as an outside plants have, then we might have to keep it on for a little longer. Now, let's go look at a real life example of this in action. So here's my indoor garden, and when I first started it, I had put the light way up here near the roof. And because of that, it had some adverse effects upon my plants. So to show you some of these adverse effects, let us take a look at the radishes and what they look like. So here we have the radishes, and as you can see, they look pretty weird because of how lengthy and long they are. Now, these radishes, they've been planted for quite a while, but as you can see, they have this super long stem. And this is caused not by the lack of quality of light, but the lack of quantity of light. They were getting the right amount of red and blue light that they needed, but the quantity that they needed, they were not getting enough of it. And because of that, it was causing the plants to grow as long as possible and to reach out, try to get closer to the light as they could. Because of this, because they were trying to grow as close to the light as they could, they grew really wonky. And as you can see, the leaf is growing here way above the soil like this, when in fact the leaf should have been pretty much growing straight from the ground. And this is due to the lack of quantity of light and not quality. A lack of quality would have a similar effect. The plants wouldn't be able to get the right amount of light, but if it was a lack of red light, they would not be able to flower. So if we go look over here at the strawberries, the strawberries are receiving enough light because, as you can see, they are putting out flowers and trying to produce fruit. And if it was a lack of blue light, you would get plants that would be very short and they wouldn't be very tall. But since these are very lengthy and they're reaching out, there was enough quality, it's just they weren't getting the quantity that they needed. So to help with this situation, to help bring the light much closer to the plants, I bought this new grow light with these arms that are adjustable so I could bring, the light as close to possible to the plants as I could. And so this one, So this one just gives off blue and red light that's adjustable. So you can turn it on to red. You can have both colors, or you could just have it to have blue. So depending if you wanted plants that were just fruiting, you just wanted to focus on them to grow fruit, then just the red color would be good. If you just wanted them to grow vegetatively, then you would just use the blue one. Right now I have it on both, so because I have plants in the vegetative stage and also in the fruiting stage. But yeah, this one brings it, yeah, as you can see, much closer to the plants. And this helps it to get the quantity of light, because the quantity of light is greatly increased because it's much closer. And then also, this one has the quality of light because it has the red and blue. When it comes to using this grow light, it is best to keep the light as close as possible you can. For younger plants that you've seeded and they've just come up, it's best to keep the light about 6 inches away from them. And then as they grow, you probably will keep the light about 12 to 24 inches away from the plant. But the closer is not always better, because if you get it too close, as you can see from this plant here, I had the light way too close and it caused it to become bleached and scorched, and it actually damaged the plant. So you just want to make sure you don't have the light too close, but like don't be afraid to mess around with things, to change things up. If your plants are getting too long, then bring the light a little closer. If they're getting a little bleached, then move them far away. Don't be afraid to experiment a little bit and try to learn how to better take care of your plants, because that's the only way you can really learn to take care of them and to produce good plants indoors. But you can always do some research online, and yeah, how long you need to leave the light on for just depends on the plants you grow. So to wrap up this video, I just want you to remember 3 things. First, if your plants are getting long and thin, you're not getting enough light. Second, you need to have good quantity of light. Make sure that light is as close as possible to the plants without bleaching them, and make sure you keep the light on for the right amount of time. If it needs full sun, then make sure you give it full sun, and maybe just a little bit more since it's growing indoors. And third, you need to have the right quality of light. That means red and blue light. Take care.